Welcome in to the latest episode of that SEC podcast. I'm your host, Michael Bratton. I go by SEC Mike on Twitter, and I'm joined as always by my cousin Shane, who goes by Big Orange Balls on Twitter. What are you up to, you big undefeated Tennessee homer?
Hey, buddy, what's going on?
Oh, man, what a weekend of SEC action, brother. We got upsets. We got undefeateds going down. It was a wild one, wasn't it?
I'm back on the winning side of the wager app. Come on now.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie, I was worried, brother.
Yeah, I'm very, very disappointed that you're on this show without the eye black. You tried to push it on me to make me wear the damn eye black, and I said, to hell with that.
Yeah, those unfamiliar with Dart, wait till you play Ole Miss. He's got this damn face paint, and it's one thing if you're out there like a Bryce or a Hendon Hooker right now. You know what I'm saying? But if you're really struggling to get more touchdowns than interceptions, maybe we don't do the face paint for a while. I don't know. It's me personally. I thought he came out, he looked good, and I was like, shit, I got to go get some face paint. I was actually literally Googling what to wear, because, I'm not in football anymore, I don't have that tape laying. I don't even know what to put on there. So I was making sure, but it was Halloween, so there's plenty of shit down here at the grocery store and Walmart. So I figured I could find something, but about halfway through, I was like, oh, well, I'm glad I didn't put that order in. So, man, we're going to get to all the games, but I will tell you from start to finish, it was, again, an emotional roller coaster for these fans. I know there's a lot of happy fans out there, and then there's a lot of pissed off or sad fans out there. But, man, all in all, it was a great weekend in SEC football.
Yeah, and let's just start right there, Shane, because that was game of the week in the SEC. LSU beats Ole Miss 45-20. And, yeah, like you said, we text back and forth during these games. Ole Miss jumps out to 17-3 lead. I'm saying, oh, you're driving down to the store to get that black face paint, aren't you? And, even though the final score was lopsided, Shane, this was a 24-20 ball game going into the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
But LSU 42-3 run to end the football game, just dominated the fourth quarter. This is the second time this season, Shane. I should look up the guy's name, but whoever the hell's the strengths coach down there, they made a big deal when they ran off Tommy Moffitt, the former. He'd been there since like the 90s. Brian Kelly brings in his own guy, and, this is no shot at Tommy Moffitt, but whoever the hell they got running that department, Shane, they know what they're doing because LSU is just dominating in these fourth quarters, and they look damn good, didn't they?
Absolutely. Another fantastic game for Daniels, and he's not quite getting the respect he deserves, but I think here in a couple of weeks, you're watching a strong SEC quarterback showing down there, and this LSU Tigers, man, they're resilient. I told you during the Tennessee game, and Coach Kelly comes out after this and makes a comment that, hey, he saw this during the Vols game, and I did too, brother. I'm telling you, there's a lot of fight. There's some great players. And the way they schemed up, and especially second half adjustments, they just dominate. Kelly out-coached Kiffin, man. That's all it is, plain and simple.
Well, you're saying Jane Daniels don't get enough respect. He's getting it on this show. 21 of 28, 248 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and then 121 rushing yards, 3 more touchdowns, so 5 total touchdowns. SEC Offensive Player of the Week. How can it be anyone other than Jaden Daniels? 11 touchdowns now, Shane, in the last 2 weeks alone against SEC competition. How about this, Shane? Final 8 drives of the ball game. LSU scored 6 touchdowns on those 8 drives. That's just incredible. Like you said, Brian Kelly out here, not only did he out-coach Lane Kiffin, he's trolling him on Twitter after the game. How often do you see Lane Kiffin get on the wrong side of a Twitter exchange? I just thought that was fantastic. We'll throw it up on the YouTube if you're watching. This game really, though, Shane, came down to the red zone. LSU 6 for 6 in the red zone for 38 points. Ole Miss 3 of 4, 17 points in the red zone. And Jackson Dart threw that really tough interception. You know, I've seen Ole Miss people say, well, hell, that wasn't on him. He was getting pressure. But at the same time, you can't loft the ball up in the end zone.
Exactly.
It was an incredible play by Joe Fouché, one-handed interception. We got to give him credit. But in a tight ball game like this on the road, you got to come away with points down there. And right there, had Ole Miss scored a touchdown, they would have taken a lead. And maybe they would have gotten some more momentum. But, man, this is what you have been saying for about a month, Shane. Jackson Dart, can he win you a game with his arm? Ole Miss, after the very red-hot start, they were unable to run the ball, and, you know, it's not that simple, but LSU controlling the down and distance, and then Ole Miss basically had no answer in the second half, did they?
No, and one thing, and I don't give Gary enough credit, but one of the comments he made during this game is that Kelly finally trusts Jaden. And it just kind of rolled off, and then I thought about it. It's some of the play calls that we're seeing. It's almost like they did release more of the playbook to him, and they're allowing him to throw down the field because, you know, at the start of the season, this was a running back. He was almost like a Jackson Dart. He was just ready to run the ball 24/7, but now he's getting a little bit more comfortable back there in the pocket. And kudos to the offensive line, which has been shifted around nonstop this entire season. They came together and gave him an opportunity to find. And when he didn't have it, he didn't hesitate to pull it. I just thought that was eye-opening to me. Now, on the flip side of the ball, here you got Ole Miss, and you know, I was worried about Dart having that game because LSU loaded the box, man. We knew they were going to force him to win this game with his arm. And, you know, at the start of this thing, I thought, shit, he's going to do it. But then he just kind of, like, the scripted plays went away. And then now, you know, he had to go through his own progressions, and he almost kind of panicked. And one of the things they talked about before this game, you know, he's never played in a large crowd like the Death Valley, you know, and this place was rocking. So I think that's got to be part of it. Stupid penalties, stupid mistakes during the whole thing. Ole Miss is a better team than they look Saturday. I truly believe it. But this needs to be a wake-up call. And more importantly, it needs to be a wake-up call for Lane Kiffin. Is this your guy? You know, are you going to put all your chips on Dart? Nothing against him. I think he's a very physical, talented player. But can he win the games? Because you've got an excellent running back. Well, we probably should mention Evans didn't play in this game. Right. You know, so that's truly a factor. But Judkins looked good. He kept LSU honest. But they need to be more balanced. And I think that's what Kiffin's going to, I think, make some tough choices this week.
Well, let me ask you this, Shane. You mentioned the penalties. I'll reference that real quick. 10 penalties for Ole Miss, 111 penalty yards. Mm-hmm. Again, you're not going to win in the SEC on the road doing that. That was rough. But let's try to stay positive here for a second. LSU now. This is something that we kind of hit it at, but we didn't really want to go deep down that road till we saw them against Ole Miss. But right now, Shane, they are right there. Next game, Alabama at home. Mm-hmm. If LSU beats Alabama, which we'll get to them in a minute, they will control their destiny. Hell, they control their destiny now. But of course, you got to beat Alabama. How incredible of a job is this by Brian Kelly and company that, no one's been talking about LSU as a SEC contender, and they've earned that right now.
Absolutely. And it's funny because at the start of the season, we really were on him, man. Myself included. I'm not going to lie. You know, he's trying to get back into Notre Dame and all this stuff. But we thought it was going to be a build. I really did. I thought it was going to be a rebuild. I thought it was a year off from being competitive, 2 years from really making some noise in the SEC West. And then here we are halfway through the season, and we got Alabama coming to town and saying, you know what, LSU has a shot to be number one seed in the West. Could you imagine? It's at home. You couldn't paint any perfect. They haven't decided what time this game is, right? Yeah, is that correct?
They have not, but they'll announce that on Monday.
Okay, so I mean, I'm expecting a night game, and that's going to make for an electric environment, and I think Kelly and company are ready for that. I mean, it's one thing to call out Alabama, you know what I'm saying? I'm not doing that, and I'm not doing that for the LSU Tigers, but they keep playing the way they've been playing. I mean, well balanced, good defense. That's how you win these games.
Yeah. So let me go down the schedule real quick, Shane. They got 2 weeks to prepare. They got a bye week. Like you said, Alabama at home, at Arkansas, UAB at home, and at Texas A&M. If they can beat Alabama, that's a monumental ask, but if they can, there's no reason they can't win the rest of them, don't you think?
Yeah, no.
I mean, it's not a given by any means at Arkansas,
right.
At A&M, but hell, if you can beat Alabama, you should be able to beat those teams.
If you can beat Alabama, Mike, you can beat anybody in the SEC. I mean, they're still the top dog, and I know I'm a Tennessee homer, and I'm glad we got that win. But you poll the audience, ain't one damn Tennessee fan want to play that team again. You know what I'm saying? We want LSU to win. We'd rather go against LSU again. So, Not saying Georgia, calm down. I'm not saying Tennessee's going to the SEC championship. We know it goes through Athens, but I will say if you can beat Alabama, you can beat anybody.
Well, let me also add this, Shane. That game, Alabama at LSU.
Yeah.
Same day, Tennessee at Georgia. Oh, look, imagine that back-to-back doubleheader here on Saturday, November 5th. You know what?
CBS flexing that one. You know they already are. They're going to fly Gary to both them games.
Now, what about the other side of this one, Shane? Ole Miss, 7-1 after losing to LSU.
Yeah.
Not hitting the panic button, but here's the rest of their schedule, Shane. At A&M, we'll get to them in a moment here. Then you got 2 weeks to prepare for Alabama at home, at Arkansas, and then Mississippi State at home in the Egg Bowl. Is the season in danger of going the wrong way here for the Rebels?
Well, I'm looking at the schedule myself, and we're going to get to A&M here in a minute. That turns out to be a pretty winnable game if they keep doing what they're doing. The Alabama obviously going to be sticking out there, but Arkansas, Mississippi State, these are two teams that Ole Miss can win. So if I'm looking at some 50-50 games right now, well, not even 50-50. I'm not going to say that.
They could lose them all too, don't you think?
Yeah. I mean, this was a good – I told you, this was a good temperature gauge. We wanted to see how good or how bad Ole Miss really was. And I didn't walk away from this game thinking they're horrible. I really didn't. I was ready to get on this show and kiss their ass like I promised with the face paint. And they had an opportunity to really dig in and take the crowd out of it, but they weren't able to do it. They weren't able to continue some of these drives, and it just gave LSU the momentum that they needed. So here on one hand, we're talking about LSU potentially beating Alabama. Who's to say Ole Miss can't? So I'm not packing the bags on. I'm not hitting the panic just yet.
Yeah.
But I think this team really needed a wake-up call, man, because they were reading their own press clippings. They were looking at the news and, oh, look, we're number one in the West. I've sensed that. I felt like they came in there just expecting the steamroll, and after that first drive, that's what it felt like. I saw a lot of heads down in that game, and they weren't able to bounce back. So this is exactly what they needed. They needed punched in the mouth, and I expect Ole Miss to come out and fighting strong, but they realize that they're just not going to be able to sit back and just hand the ball off and win every game that they play.
Yeah, and before anyone thinks I'm just going to sit here and bury Ole Miss, Shane, again, we're about to get to A&M. Very winnable. If LSU loses to Alabama, you get 2 weeks to prepare. You get Alabama at home. You knock them off. Your path to the West is still there. So, hey, maybe this is a wake-up call. You know what?
Hey, even if you lose Bama, Texas A&M, you can win. Arkansas, you can win. Mississippi State, you can win. Yep. That's 3 wins right there. So in 2 losses, I think that's a fantastic season. You're probably giving Lane some more money at the end of that thing.
Well, speaking of Lane, Shane, this is rough. Well, let's kick it over to the post-game comments. And if this one for Kiffin in particular, you can barely hear what he's saying because it's must be right next to that LSU locker room that was rocking on Saturday night.
You obviously took a big risk coming down here to take this job. I mean, I know it's or mid-season, but is there any validation you get in a win like this in Tiger Stadium that you do have this thing in the right direction?
No. I think that's probably the furthest thing from my mind. I'm so excited for our players. I used this analogy before. They jumped in 100% with a whole new way of doing things for me, and I'm just so pleased that they're seeing positive results because of it. I think that's what I'm most excited about.
Yeah, hey Coach, right here. Harold Perkins was all over the field tonight, really getting in Jackson Dart's face a lot. Can you speak to his performance and just kind of how important he was to executing the defensive game plan in the second half? Yeah, hey Coach, right here. Harold Perkins was all over the field tonight, really getting in Jackson Dart's face a lot. Can you speak to his performance and just kind of how important he was to executing the defensive game plan in the second half?
He was good. He's active, as you saw. It's hard to get him on the field as much, but we felt like it was really important to get him out on the perimeter because he can run things down and he's a very good pass rusher. He's an exceptional player. I think everybody knows that. But within our structure, some guys lose some playing time because of it, and some really good players lose some playing time. He's a really good player, and he impacts our defense, no doubt.
Coach, late in the third quarter, the Micah Baskerville pressure and the Joe Fouché interception in the end zone, what did that mean in the overall game? Because they didn't sniff the end zone again after that.
Yeah, the momentum really shifted there. The interception was probably the biggest play because they were threatening to score in that situation. And we felt like, okay, that was the first time where we got any extension in the game from them because it was score, score, score. That was probably the one big play in the game that gave us the ability to obviously pull away a little bit from them. So that was a huge play. And, the pressure obviously had a lot to do with that. So the pressure, he puts it up, and we were able to get the big interception.
A couple of weeks ago we were here and it wasn't good. And since then you've completely turned it around.
We weren't as far away in that Tennessee game as the score indicated. Look, I went for a lot of fourth down situations that exacerbated the score. That could have been, let's keep it close, and everybody went like, wow, they played them tough. We didn't play the game to keep it close. We played it to win it. But we didn't play very well that day. Tennessee was the better football team that day. But when we went through it again and we watched the tape and we looked at it, we felt like we were a better football team. So I know perceptually we got lit up, and rightly so. We were poor that day. I coached poorly that day, and we deserved everything that we got. But when we looked at it internally, we didn't think that we were far off, and I think we're starting to prove that.
You referenced the interception play. What kind of happened on that play? Was that a product of him getting hit, or was that?
Yeah, he got hit on that. It was a fade to Malik, and liked the matchup, and backer came free and hit him, so he wasn't able to finish the throw. And I think had he been able to finish the throw, it probably would have been PI, but I don't think they called it because the ball was too far away, I think.
You've brought up missed tackles 3 weeks in a row, a couple of the other recurring defensive issues. What's your level of concern right now with the defense after that hot start?
That would be as high as you can be. We've had a run of playing really good defense early on, and haven't here, for the last 2 weeks. Even though we got to stop at the end of last week. So, you could kind of see this coming off of last week if, we didn't improve in tackling. And, there's another big rushing day against us.
All right, Shane. Hey, next game on the docket here. Man, South Carolina 30, Texas A&M 24.
Barn burner.
Man, first of all, we got to give Williams-Brice Stadium, these fans, electric atmosphere. You open the opening kickoff, return for a touchdown. Xavier Levitt, 100-yard kick return touchdown. Special teams player of the week right there. Just brought the house down right there. And then Haynes King comes right out, throws an interception that was returned to the 5. Should have been a touchdown on that drive, but for some damn reason, Marcus Satterfield called 3 passes, and we got nothing and had to kick a field goal. And then the next one, Shane, literally in all my years of football, I've never seen this in my life. Center snaps the ball early. Quarterback walking up to talk to him, hits the quarterback, Haynes King, in the knee, and goes flying to South Carolina's defense. They scored a touchdown on that. So this is 17-0 right out the gate. And Jimbo had 2 weeks to prepare for this game, Shane, and this is what A&M looked like. I mean, this is garbage.
Yeah. No, I think I would like to give. This is Beamer ball, by the way. This is what we talked about. We heard it several times during the game. If you were doing the shots, you were schmammered probably after the first quarter. But I want to give the special teams to the entire South Carolina staff, not just the kick return, but that damn punter, man.
Yeah.
I mean, he's kicking 50-yard bombs every single time, and just about every one of them pinning them inside the 20. So
Yep.
I think that's an X factor that Texas A&M had trouble getting on that side of the stick. So yeah, this was an ugly start for an Mike. I told you I'm never betting on A&M. I'm surprised is Jimbo even fired yet? I don't even know. They better be squirreling away their money. And I'm trying to be positive, Mike. I told myself I wouldn't, but they pissed me off because South Carolina gave them so many opportunities to get back into this game.
Yeah.
And they couldn't do it. They couldn't do it. It's like, nah, I don't want it. I don't want to win this thing. This is good. But I will say 12th man was in Columbia, man. That place was freaking rocking.
Yeah, I mean, what a performance by them. First time ever, Shane. Shane Beamer's got a 4-game winning streak as South Carolina head coach. He's my SEC coach of the week. I love the fact that you give out Kai Kroger, the punter, love. So let's add him to special teams player of the week.
Yeah.
I mean, he deserves it. He's been outstanding. And how about this, Shane? This is what I was thinking about this morning. South Carolina is last season's Arkansas. Because they kind of came out of nowhere. Arkansas snapped the Texas A&M streak, the LSU streak, the Missouri streak. Now South Carolina's doing it, man. We're beating Kentucky.
Yeah.
We're beating A&M. And I'll just go out and say it now, Shane, because it was a slow window. There was only one game in the noon window.
Yeah.
Clemson ain't shit. We're beating Clemson this year. We're going to end the year snapping another streak. That's just what South Carolina is this season. I think if I'm a Gamecock fan, I couldn't be more fired up with this 5-2 start to the season.
Brother, it ain't got to be pretty. It ain't got to be pretty. And that's what I kept saying at the end of this thing. Because I tell you, at the end, I passed out, Mike. I ain't going to lie. All right? I'm old. All right? I fell asleep during this game. And I credit that to Jimbo, and I credit that to the first and second downs of South Carolina, because I don't understand the play calling. It's like South Carolina's it's these little outs, these little screens, these little blah blah blah, and it's like seems like they're always 3rd and 7 or 3rd and 8.
Yep.
They're not manageable third downs, and there's some great plays thrown in there. Rattler had he had some great balls in here, but when he does have an excellent pass, these receivers drop it. It was a frustrating game to watch if you were there for South Carolina offense, and then on the other side, Texas A&M just cannot stretch a field. They can't, and if you can't stretch the field, as soon as South Carolina was like, oh wait, they can't throw deep. Let's load up this box. Let's get Achane down, and let's just close this thing out. And that's what happened when Texas A&M got that running game pulled from them. They just fell apart. So it blows my mind. The offense, the defenses, they deserve awards, both of them. I think Texas A&M. The reason that they didn't lose this game by 40 points was the fact that this defense kept South Carolina from moving the chains. But all in all, it was a victory for South Carolina. I don't want to take that away from them because we kept seeing all the streaks. Jimbo hasn't lost from here. Texas A&M hasn't lost in this many years. Blah, 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 blah. The streak's out. South Carolina is now 4 in a row, and that's what matters.
Yeah, and you mentioned South Carolina struggles on first down, Shane. 3.3 yards is what they averaged on first down. That's just dreadful. They threw it 8 times on first down and only completed 3 of them. They were rushing for 4.4 yards per carry on first down.
Mm-hmm.
They got this beast of a running back, Marshawn Lloyd. They ended up giving him a lot of carries in the second half, but Spencer Rattler, 12 of 25 for 168. Prize picks, brother. I said under 18 completions. That was a gimme right there. They were begging you to take that. And let me ask you this, Shane, because like you said, we're on a 4-game winning streak. We're all fired up.
Yeah.
This may be a little hot take-ish, Shane, but it reminds me. Remember last season, Shane? LSU beat Florida.
Yeah.
Coach O was on the hottest of hot season. Oh my God, he beat Florida. That was an upset. They turned right around and fired his ass. You know why they did it? Because they did not want him gaining momentum and holding on to that job. Can we fire an offensive coordinator after winning 4 in a row? We got Missouri and Vanderbilt upcoming. It may be 6 in a row. I mean, hell, they may give him an extension if they win 6 games in a row. I think he's holding the team back.
We can't be the only outlet saying this, Mike. Really? Well, I follow a lot of South Carolina fans, and I see the frustration with them. They don't, and Beamer surely, because this is one of the things that drives me nuts is every time I see Beamer, they want to talk about his pedigree. Every coach that he's brushed, elbows with, they're like, "Oh, look, did you see that chart?" And I was like, "God, get that the hell out of here." What matters is he's got the reins. He's the head honcho down there in Columbia, and he's no dummy. Somebody's eventually got to say, "You know what? This offense is not working." But then part of you is like, well, we are, 4-0 here. So, right. and there's a chance. So I think it's that devil in your corner. He ain't going anywhere, Mike. He would have been fired a long time ago. You're riding Saturday. I mean, he's going to be there for the rest of the year. Mm-hmm. But when we look back at body of work, I think, over this offseason, somebody's going to say, maybe it's his daddy, just says, "Come on, son." He goes, "I know you like the guy, but you got to fire his ass. Let me show you all the people I fired up in Virginia Tech." All right. Doesn't mean you can't go back to his house. You can't have him over for family dinners, but right. It ain't working. We need to try something different. And what's going to happen is frustration from the offense. Rattler, say what you want. The kid's mouthy, and if things don't keep going his way, I guarantee he's going to voice his opinion at the end of the season and try to get an OC in there that can cater the offense around his talent, and his desires.
Well, and then we've gone this long, Shane. We're not even touched on Jimbo Fisher. First 3-game losing streak of his Texas A&M career. His coach effect is -7 since the start of 2021 season. That is the worst in Power 5 football. He is 2-6 in his last 8 against FBS competition. He's lost 4 in a row to unranked teams. Texas A&M has failed to score 25 points in 9 consecutive games against FBS competition. And, people think I'm piling on at this point, but, this is horrible. And I know there's injuries. Hell, everybody's injured, Shane. And like I said, you got 2 weeks to prepare, and you're saying, well, we're down this lineman, we're down that lineman, we're down a quarterback. Well, this is year 5. Everybody on the roster is your guy. And we see it across the SEC, Shane. LSU's had 6 different offensive lines. They're tied for first in the SEC West. Yep. This is not an excuse. This is bad coaching. And they're stuck with him with this $85 million contract. Mm-hmm. And unless he hires an offensive coordinator, this is what Texas A&M is going to be for the rest of his contract, don't you think?
That's exactly what it is. And I think there's too much money involved to get him out, or he'd already be gone. Mike, what other scenario do you see a team starting, top 6 in the country at the beginning of the season, and now that they've got more losses than wins going into November? There's no reason that Jimbo should be employed, but they made the guarantee. $80 million is a lot of money, Mike. Yeah. So what you can do is you can get in his office and say, "Listen, okay, we can't fire you, but you need to do something, or we're going to find monies and find ways to get you out of here." And the only answer, Mike, is getting an offensive coordinator. It's come to that old school I formation. You're down and you're running a damn I formation. It's like, the veer. You know what I'm saying? This isn't high school anymore, man. Nobody's playing this style of offense. It's holding these kids back. It's holding everything back. I think about and I'm not trying to tweak Tennessee in here, but I'm going to say it for a second. I'm watching this barn burner the other day with Tennessee Vols, and I'm thinking to myself, if Pruitt were still here, if Dooley were here, this would be a ball game right now because they cannot run offense, But we've developed and we've moved on, and now we're putting all these points on the board. Texas A&M has a ton of talent on that side of the ball. You put in an OC down there that just has free reign to spread this offense. I'm telling you, these guys would blow records out. I mean, it would be phenomenal. But until they finally get Jimbo convinced that he can't run this offense anymore or coach this team, it's not going to change anytime soon.
Yeah. Well, what was I going to say?
He should be fired. He should absolutely be fired. Has the Aggies, have you noticed some Aggies unblocking you? Because I know you pissed off a lot of people in the offseason talking about Jimbo being a terrible coach. Right. But surely they're like, that Mike, he may be onto something, Maybe you shouldn't have come.
Not a damn one has reached out, Shane, but it is so the media people are starting to turn on him, I've noticed.
Yeah.
And again, this is nothing personal. A&M's got college football playoff talent.
Yeah.
They have got to put this together. I don't know. They get mad. You start talking about the NIL. I don't know any specifics on any of those deals, but you got to wonder if this top class they signed, Shane, how many of them may be leaving if this keeps up. And down the stretch, Shane, I mean, they got UMass. That's a winnable game, but the rest they could all potentially lose. This is what I wanted to ask you, Shane. Haynes King, man, he's I think he's gutting it out. So let's give him credit for he's not quitting or anything, but he's getting hurt here, throwing the ball. No one's touching him. Now he was getting hit quite a bit, and this is several games in a row. I realize this offensive line is not where it needs to be. Hell, Max Johnson got destroyed. He's hurt. Haynes King's gotten hurt a couple of times. Would you throw out Connor Wigman, the true freshman, who he had to finish the game for the Aggies, and he didn't look spectacular, but he didn't look terrible either. With a season that's essentially lost now, would you throw out the freshman and try to build something for next year? Or are you concerned that maybe he's not quite ready for it and we could maybe even get him injured? I don't know. What's your thoughts on that?
My thoughts on this is at this point in the season, Jimbo needs to become a salesman. And not to his team. He needs to become a salesman to the fans, the media outlets, to let them know that better days are ahead. Maybe not this year, but next year. When we get this recruiting class, when we get a little bit older, when we're not so banged up, this is our new quarterback. We had to do it at this point. He needs to convince the country that they are young, but there's better days ahead. And you do that by starting a new quarterback, potentially a freshman quarterback. You do that by trying new things on offense. Maybe even let some of the somebody else on the staff call a few plays. So I think that's what you got to do. You got to because if you keep doing the same thing, that's the definition of insanity, expecting different results. He's got to think outside the box because now his job is to convince not just the leadership there, but the fans that he still can do this. He still can be a national championship coach.
Just a little over a month ago, I sat in here after the Georgia game and got asked, did I sense any quit in this football team? That looked like that team's quit. So since that day, we've won 4 straight for the first time since 2013. We just beat who did we beat? Kentucky on the road 2 weeks ago up in Lexington for the first time since 2012, and we just beat Texas A&M for the first time ever. So, no, there's no quit in this team. We got a bunch of freaking fighters on this team that love each other and play for one another and care about each other, and it showed out there tonight. As ugly as it was at times, they never flinched, and they just kept coming back, and we talked about we're a second-half team, and we get better as the game goes, and we did. Now, having said that, we got to play and coach a whole lot better because
Coach, You said after the Kentucky game, maybe in reference to the culture comment, that you look for different ways to get your team motivated. Did you, or to what extent did you use maybe the 0-8 record against Texas A&M as motivation, and how do you feel they, I don't know, maybe responded to that?
We didn't talk about it much. I mean, I brought it up on Tuesday just because our guys knew, and I didn't want to not avoid it, but I wasn't going to make it a big issue. All week either. We talked about it on Tuesday that it's part of it, but that had nothing to do with this year's game. I mean, we had a bunch of players out there tonight that have never even played Texas A&M. But certainly it was in the back of my guys' minds, and we talked about it at the hotel last night that it's time. It was time to win this thing, to win one of these, and our guys believed that and had great confidence coming into the game and played really, really hard and found a way to win it.
Follow-up. I was going to say, I think you guys scored in 13 seconds against Kentucky. It was 14 this week. Is the goal 12 seconds next week against Missouri? Or
I don't know. I told it was funny. I mean, Pete said something to me. I guess it was in the team meeting last night. I told him, we're going to make a play on special teams, and it's going to be the difference in this game tomorrow. And I didn't know it was going to be on the very first play of the game. Just like, last week we talked about getting turnovers, and they hadn't put the ball on the ground. Kentucky hadn't, and we needed to force a turn. Or we hadn't forced a fumble all year is what it was. And then we forced it on the first play. So I don't know. Maybe I just need to keep speaking it into existence, Ben, whatever I want to get done. But no, it was awesome. We know we're pretty good when we score first. I don't know what the record is, but I think we've lost one game since I've been here when we score first. I think that's right. So it was critical to get off to a great, a really good start.
This season you said that mental mistakes has been the kind of key differential between making some of those plays and not. Why do you think so many mental mistakes a week off of the open week?
No, I don't know. Just got to keep your poise and go play them. Just got to get back and get your confidence going and get them. And then in streaks, we have it. We just got to do it with more consistency. I mean, it comes and goes a little bit. We just got to be a little more consistent in what we're trying to do.
But why do you think you can turn this around?
Well, I mean, we have good players and we got a good. I mean, we just got to get. We're right there. You're not. It's not like we're getting ran out of the stadium. You know what I'm saying? I mean, but we're at the same time. It doesn't matter whether you ran out of one play. You're right there close, but you got to. Guys are right there, and how hard they're playing, and the belief they have in what we're doing, and we just got to keep executing. We'll find a way to make a play or two, and all of a sudden you'll get over the hump. That's just the way it goes.
And, Coach, the lack of execution and not playing with consistency, and we talk about mistakes week after week. Why would why do you feel like that's those questions or the solutions are going to be found 7 weeks into the season?
Well, the solutions are there. We know how to do it. We know what to do. We just got to keep our poise and doing it. Keep practicing the way we're doing it, and get our guys healthy back. We had we had 2 linemen missing this week too, which causes a little bit of that too. I mean, we got to get the consistency and try to get a consistent lineup to go. And that's communication levels, little things. They're not major things that go on. They're little things that cause big things to happen.
All right, friends. Hey, the podcast is sponsored by Game Time Sidekicks. Don't forget to check out GameTimeSidekicks.com. Use that promo code HeyBuddy, all one word, and get yourself 15% off your entire order. They sent us some products over here. This is straight from Game Time Sidekicks right here. This is some fantastic gear. I've already bought several of these, Shane, for Christmas. You may even get some extra ones headed your way, brother, for these holiday seasons. This is stainless steel drinkware from a company founded out of Knoxville, Tennessee. And the products are double wall insulated, lined with copper to make sure your drinks stay hot or cold during the game or at the tailgate or all day at work. This is officially licensed NCAA gear. They've got every school represented in tumblers, bottles, shakers, and even sippy cups. GameTimeSidekicks.com, promo code HeyBuddy. And we also are sponsored by the Wager app, Shane. Shane's heating up on the Wager app. He got one right. I got to hear about it for the rest of the week. I, of course, got my wager wrong, but it don't matter. If you fade us, if you believe our picks or not, head on over to the Wager app. They'll give you a free $20 to gamble with today with that promo code SEC. No credit card required. It's just a credible deal they're giving to our listeners exclusively. And if you go to the Wager app, you search that SEC podcast, you can actually bet against Shane and I. All our picks are there. We lose every week, so you just make money fading each and every one of our picks. Again, this is a Tennessee-based business. You got to be a Tennessee resident. Play against us on the Wager app. And last but not least, Shane, PrizePicks.com. Head on over to PrizePicks, daily fantasy sports. And the thing we love about PrizePicks, Shane, they got college football selections. I'm on a heater. All I do is pick winners over there at PrizePicks. Same promo code as Wager, SEC, and they'll match your initial deposit up to $100. You can bet NFL, college football, NBA, Major League Baseball, NHL, all the sports over at prizepicks.com. All this information can be found in the show notes. Take advantage of these sponsors. Help us stay free and independent forever. All right, Shane, hey, next game on the docket here, Alabama takes care of business 30-6. Nice little rebound here for the Crimson Tide. This was a little bit of a tale of two halves, though, Shane. I mean, Alabama was up 24-0 at halftime. You're thinking, oh, Lord, here we go. Nick Saban and company taking it out on Mississippi State that they finally dropped a game. But then in the second half, Shane, only 6-6 was the final score. I know Mississippi State literally had to score as time expired to not get goose-egged in this thing. But the Crimson Tide had only 90 yards of offense in the second half. Only 29 rushing yards for the game. That's troubling.
Right. Yeah.
But I think the league office, Shane, got a call from old Nick Saban because listen to this: 3 penalties for Alabama this week for 20 yards, while Mississippi State 10 penalties for 100 yards. Ooh, they're afraid of Lord Saban up there, don't you think?
And he still bitched about the ones he got, Mike. Oh, Mike. No, this one was a weird one. This one was a weird one for me because there was moments I felt like, Mississippi State is going to get into this thing.
Yeah.
I really did. And it came down to just a couple of stupid mistakes. And typically they were on third down. Just tip balls, just dumb mistakes. And then they get away from the running game. And I think that's Mississippi State, when they're playing their best football on offense, it's the running game is a focal point. Everybody wants to talk about Will Rogers and his 60 attempts today. It shouldn't have been that many. There should have been some opportunities for them to run the ball, and just unfortunately, game script did not allow that, and that's exactly what Alabama wanted.
Yeah, and for me, Shane, 2 things that really stood out. Alabama should be lucky they got Bryce Young. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, he is just incredible. He basically performed, to the level that he did in that Tennessee game. Obviously didn't score as much as he did, but he was just making plays out there, playing almost like backyard football. Mississippi State could not get him down, much like Tennessee last week. He's out here pointing at his receivers, go that way, go this way, I'll hit you, dead stride, 40 yards down the field. So it certainly seemed like he was getting his arm strength back. That's something I don't think he quite had in that Tennessee game, as incredible as he was. He only had one completion that was over 20 yards in that Tennessee game. He had a couple against Mississippi State. And, Shane, we finally unleashed the beast here. Eli Ricks, outstanding corner that's been sitting on the sideline all season for the Crimson Tide. Once Tennessee kind of toasted him time and time again, they said, we got to get this Eli Ricks in the ball game.
Yeah.
He had an incredible performance here against Mississippi State, and maybe that's the difference for Alabama in the second half, getting a preseason All-American corner. We all know what he can do.
Right.
At LSU, he was phenomenal. Now, like I said, they've unleashed him out there at Alabama, so maybe that shores up the passing defense for the Crimson Tide. They were 4 for 4 in the red zone for 20 points. That was critical in this ball game. Mississippi State 1 of 2 with 6 points. So, Crimson Tide made the plays they had to make. This is not an overall super impressive performance, but you completely dominate a Southeastern Conference opponent. We got to give you credit for that. And I still think coming at, after this game, Shane, there is a little bit of a gap between Alabama and Tennessee and Georgia. But I think there's a wide gap between Alabama and the rest of the SEC. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think you're right here. And two, they're ran by key players, and I'm going to tell you when Bryce isn't there, this team was garbage.
Yeah.
When Jahmyr Gibbs got hurt during this game, it felt like that running attack went away. Yeah, but don't get me wrong. I think Jahmyr Gibbs is one of the greatest, if not the greatest, running back in the country. I think Bryce is, you could say, the same as quarterback. But it shows you, just kind of how thin, which is kind of crazy, Alabama is beyond those. So you got to keep those two healthy. But when they're on the field and they're 100%, it's Batman and Robin, man. These guys are just deadly and they can do anything they want to any defense that they face. But that's just kind of an eye opener to me this week is that Jahmyr Gibbs banged up, still even when he came back, still didn't seem 100%. So I don't know if you heard anything after the game there. I did notice. Bryce Young hit Burton a few times, pun intended. Is that too soon? Huh?
Well, I was going to play his comments in the postgame, but apparently Nick Saban and Jermaine Burton were
scared to death. This bastard was scared to death. Oh, my God.
But he wasn't the only one, according to Mike Leach. His entire damn team's afraid of Alabama. So,
Nick Saban's afraid. That old ass. He loud noises and shit like that. Falling in the house, he gets scared. That's part of getting old. I get scared sometimes. But Burton was not scared, man. Everybody was scared of him.
Yeah, no doubt. But hey, to your point though, how wild is it, Shane, to sit here and think that Alabama, without Gibbs, Georgia Tech transfer, Tyler Sheen, the Vanderbilt transfer, is probably their best offensive lineman.
Yeah.
Gibbs, Georgia, or not Gibbs, Burton, Georgia, and then they got a Harrell from Louisville. I mean, what is this offense without transfers? Why is Alabama? I guess so many guys go to the NFL. I get it, but lack of development this is a red flag, Shane. And next season, because Bryce Young's going to be in the NFL. Gibbs is going to be in the NFL. What's this offense going to look like? I may be getting ahead of myself here, but
no,
that's something you got to think about,
You think about when this all happened, it felt like Saban was one of the ringleaders of the ones against it.
Yeah.
And I see why. Yeah, because yes, he had some transfers that came in, but just the example I gave earlier, when Gibbs got hurt, Alabama's running because they don't have that competitive depth, which sounds crazy, but when you're talking recruiting to some of these programs like Alabama and Georgia, you're recruiting them to be a starter for 3 years and then put into the NFL. So once these kids get there, you got to remember, they've been petted, they've been groomed, they've been told they're the greatest, and then they go to a Tuscaloosa and they find out, they're not even the greatest in that room anymore. Right. And then all of a sudden, they're not getting the playing time, so they transfer out. So, yes, Alabama had a lot of transfers that are helping them this season, but they've had a lot of transfers leave that university that could have helped them during this game and season. So, it's a dangerous dance that you're doing down there, and it's almost like a gamble when you play that, because if Gibbs is not as good as you thought he was, then Alabama's in really hurting this season. Or, you know what I'm saying? Or if Burton doesn't perform, it's just because you've had all these players go out and you're trying to bring them in. It really is. You're playing Russian roulette when you're in that portal, finding those one or two players, and if you hit on them, watch out. Alabama could win it all, but if you swing and miss, then you're going to drop a couple games during the season and find yourself outside looking into the college football playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
In the first half, Mississippi State was pretty committed to running the ball against the dime. I think they had 20 rushes in the first half. How did you think that the dime defended the run?
They got 6 points. So, we just did some things different after we got started and saw that they were running the ball. So we stopped the run pretty well after that. So, I'm pleased with the way we played on defense. And team gets 6 points, and we're going to complain about the way they stopped the run. We're trying to stop the pass. So thought we did that pretty well until the last drive. We had 2 4th downs that could have got off the field and didn't get off the field. So, and then we got a penalty in the end zone, another penalty in the end zone. So, you know, they gave up 6 points. I think that's pretty good. I'd let a team run the ball all day long if they only get 6 points. You'd be all right with that?
I thought they played well against the run, but they did.
Well, I mean, got to find something.
Nick, there was obviously a question this week. What went into the decision to play Burton?
Look, I don't know how many of you have ever been in a situation like that, but I talked to him. He was scared. I was scared. Some of our other players were scared. I think you learn to respect other people because we have a responsibility to do that regardless of the circumstance that we're in. And, you know, I talked to the guy. We have him in a counseling program. It's not an anger management program, as people announced today. Nobody ever said that. That's not the problem. That's not the issue. But it's about having the proper respect for other people. And, you know, I didn't think it was necessary to suspend the guy. So if you knew the whole story, maybe you wouldn't either. But I'm not going to divulge that.
Coach, offensively, again, kind of struggle moving the football. What is it maybe that Alabama does that kind of gives you guys some trouble?
I didn't think we played well. I didn't think we played well at all. I'll tell you one thing that they do that gives us trouble. We've got some guys that are afraid of the jersey that says Alabama on it. We spend a lot of time frightened of their jerseys. You know, you want to scare some of the guys on our team. Put an Alabama jersey on them; it'll scare the hell out of them.
Coach, ahead of the bye week, what's kind of your primary focus this week for your team to prepare for the home stretch?
Well, I think we got to use our hands better. I mean, if you were to say one thing, use our hands better. We don't move our hands. We don't move our hands very good. You know, when I was a kid, I was in grade school, and I was a big dinosaur guy, and I can't remember the gas station. But they'd give you a free dinosaur. You know, if you got filled up there. That's back when they had commercials on TV, and then they'd give something to the kids, people like me, and then and the idea was that you raise hell with your parents every time you're in the station wagon. When we had one good classic, like, you know, something off of Wonder Years, it was one of those fake Woody ones where it had, you know, fake painted on wood. But then the best is it would always, without exception, the finish and the varnish on it would peel. So then it looked more bogus than ever. So we had one of those. And of course, I'd try to sit way back in that jump seat back there, you know, so you can pretend you were in a spaceship or something. And but anyway, so they'd have these commercials, and then, you know, hoping to get the kids to raise hell. Let's go to this gas station. I can't remember what gas station it was. And they'd give you a little dinosaur, you know, and so then curious about that, go to grade school and all that. And they start talking about evolution. And, you know, like as in, if you don't use a certain part of your body, as time evolves over, you know, century upon century, in natural selection, that part of the body disappears, and even that animal might disappear. And I'm genuinely fearful that on our team, if me and the other coaches don't get them right, that about a generation from now, their kids and their grandkids won't have hands, you know, because, you know, from a lack of use, those hands just disappear. I mean, maybe it'll be like this, like those dinosaur hands like this are, you see. And you know, you got like a Tyrannosaurus Rex who's clearly good at eating things, big old jaws and all that stuff, fairly athletic and run. Those hands are like this. And you know, and I think we took a very, very, very big step as a team, which we have to correct this. We have to correct this because, you know, I think that in the end, that it's going to be best for all these guys that they have good hand development and that they don't evolve to where they don't have hands. Okay, but we definitely didn't use ours, and so there certainly wasn't any genetic reinforcement on our part that we should maintain our hands. I mean, and I don't want all of a sudden, the guys driving across this country and then they get to Starkville, Mississippi, and all of a sudden there's these athletic looking, friendly guys. We have great guys that don't have any hands. And I hope that that's not the case. But that's where we're headed right now, and we're going to try to get that fixed in this off week.
All right, how about this one, Shane? I mean, another tale of two halves here. Missouri gets their first SEC win of the season, beats Vanderbilt 17-14. Looked like it was going to be a blowout, Shane. Mizzou jumped out to a quick 14-0 lead, led 17-0 at halftime. A.J. Swan, I was touting him up, no interceptions. Oh, man. Threw a costly one in the end zone that would have really maybe won Vanderbilt the game ultimately. Second half, Vanderbilt controlled it, scored 14. Mizzou scored 0 in the second half.
Mm-hmm.
How about this, Shane? There was 26 drives in this football game.
Yeah.
3 drives scored touchdowns. 1 resulted in a field goal, and then 6 were 3-and-outs, 4 were turnovers. I mean, oh my God! I put myself through the torture of watching this game for the second time this morning, and oh man! Aside from Luther Burden, I mean, Missouri's lucky they got Luther Burden. They would not have won this football game.
Mm-hmm.
Brady Cook, man, he's like half competent, half incompetent here. 17, 25, 211 for a touchdown, but he had a really bad interception. Strip sack resulted in Vanderbilt's first touchdown of the game. A.J. Swan, Shane, he even got benched in this game, and then we bring in Mike Wright. He provided a little bit of a spark, but he's just so ineffective as a passer. Vanderbilt, I mean, they just didn't have much of a shot in this one. But I do want to give a shout out, Shane. We don't do this often. A losing player won Defensive Player of the Week, Anthony Orji for Vanderbilt. He led every player in tackles. He had an interception, and he was the one that had the strip sack that put Vanderbilt on the board. I mean, he damn near carried Vanderbilt to a victory here. He wanted this one, I could tell.
What year is Orgy?
Senior.
Okay, so I was just thinking Lane Kiffin's probably texted him 15 times during that game, No, here's the thing, brother. I told you how this game was going to play out. I told you it was going to be ugly, and you are right. We texted during this whole thing, and Mike was sure to let me know when this became a ball game again. But I told you there wouldn't be a touchdown to the fourth quarter, and technically that was true. How frustrating is it to be on that Mizzou defense and find out your offense is just giving points away over there?
Yeah,
I'm giving my award. I know I don't get the fancy artwork on the Twitters, but I'm giving it to this Mizzou defense, brother, because they only gave up, seriously, 1 score, and it was a fluke, man. It was an 80-yard touchdown, and I'm not taking away from Vanderbilt. They almost got him one. They almost got him an SEC victory, but this Mizzou defense is legit, brother. And if you remove the stat line, I'm going to just pull it up because I'm terrible with math. So 57 yards rushing is what you gave up, and then subtract the 80-yard touchdown, you're looking at 160 yards passing. That's as locked down as you can get. If you can hold stats like that, you can win a lot of games in the SEC. So I'm just overall impressed with the way that they played. It ended unsexy, it wasn't fun, but there was no doubt in my mind that Mizzou was going to win this game because short of them handing the ball off and giving it to the defense again, they were not going to let Vanderbilt get in the end zone.
Yeah, and to your point, Shane, I mean, South Carolina fans are not going to want to hear this right now, but when these two match up, Shane, South Carolina offense versus Missouri defense, Missouri's going to be at a major advantage, I think, in that ball game, and they're going to make them competitive in a lot of these games they got in the back half of the season, don't you think?
I think so. I really do, and it's a team a lot of folks are going to sleep on, and that's that's what's scary about Mizzou is the defense is good enough to keep them in the game. If Cook can decide if he's a good quarterback or not, that's what drives me nuts. We see a drive right before half. He's a surgeon out there. He's hitting everybody, and he's the precise with the routes, and then it's like the next series he comes out, he looks like shit. I'm just calling it like it is, and if he can. If he could put it all together, man, Mizzou would have a lot better record than they would. They wouldn't have lost to Auburn. They wouldn't. They may have potentially not lost to Georgia. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So Florida even. So I mean, there was a real shot that Mizzou could have a crazy good record right now if it weren't for lack of play at the quarterback position. So I'm not sleeping on them at all. This is a team that's going to catch somebody sleeping.
Yeah, and the plan apparently, Shane, was for Missouri to play the true freshman Sam Horn that we've heard so much about. But because this was such a competitive game, I guess they were scared to death to throw him out there. He makes a mistake, may have cost them, their first opportunity at SEC win. So I don't know what the hell you do there. If you can make the transition to a true freshman, I don't know. But let me ask you for Vanderbilt. So close. You had to feel this was one of your best opportunities to get an SEC win. Do you think they keep chopping that wood, or do you think this is a demoralizing loss?
No, I think you keep going. That's the Vanderbilt culture they've created down there. They knew it was an uphill battle from day one.
Yeah.
And I think they've exceeded expectations up to this point. No one expected them to win this game. So the fact that they are finding themselves in ball games, I think that's enough momentum for me, man. The fact you went toe-to-toe with Ole Miss, now you went toe-to-toe with Mizzou. I think you've convinced yourself that you're close. You're on the fringe of making some noise in the SEC. So that's something, and I know moral victories are stupid, but it's an important thing for that Vanderbilt culture down there because they're building something, and it's a slow build. It's not like some of these other programs that can just go out there, hit the portal, and then all of a sudden they're relevant. No, they've got to build this shit from the ground up, and I think that takes time, and I'm starting to see that show up on the field.
And I don't care what questions you ask me, I'm going to still help celebrate this win. So with that, I'll turn it over to whatever y'all want to pick at.
When you say it's really bad stuff, can you be a little more specific?
Did you watch the second half, Gabe? Yeah. We didn't run the ball consistently. We, have a sack fumble for a touchdown. We have a fumble in the red zone. We miss a field goal. That's really bad stuff. You have a fake punt. You have a kickoff that's, the wind knocks it up and our up back doesn't catch it. That's really bad stuff, I think the turnover battle ended up being 4-1. That's awful. You don't win those games. But we did. We found a way to win, and hats off to Coach Bake and that defensive side of the ball. They're really playing at a high level, and so proud of them in our offense.
Coach, I feel like over the bye week, a few people mentioned, one play away from winning some of those games, and that obviously that fourth down stop. How does it feel? How do you feel like this team has grown in getting that one play to obviously come out in this game?
Yeah, I think that's really the difference, right? We needed one play, and there was a lot of plays working against us in that second half. As many as I've ever been a part of, to see the momentum switch like that, and to just find a way after the timeout to just be resolute to say, no, we're going to make the play on 4th and 6 inches, and again, you got Darius Robinson and Isaiah McGuire and Chad Bailey back and Realist George. This season means something to them, and they know that we just needed to find a way to get this first win and get going. And, I'm sure we'll watch the tape tomorrow and just be disgusted about a lot of things, but I'm not disgusted about lighting that dome. I know that.
All right, final game to recap, Shane. Tennessee takes care of you.
But before you get to that, are we done with Mevis? And nothing. I'm not attacking him personally.
Well, I think he made a kick
from
too.
one big guy to another. Let's not put him on a pedestal anymore. I think he needs less pressure.
It was windy. It was very, very windy. They kept saying it.
Okay. All right. Yeah, maybe do some practice swings over there, big guy.
I'm still at your quarter.
I can't kick 10 yards, so I'm not gonna, I'm not getting over too much. But they really do put him on a pedestal during these games, and I'm like, Damn, he barely made that thing.
All right, final game, Shay. Tennessee stays red hot, beats UT Martin 65-24. Of course, the competition is, not a ton to take away from this. My favorite thing, Shane, I don't know if you saw this, but one guy that Vol Nation, Vol Twitter particularly, not a big fan of, Pat 40.
Yeah.
This game was 7-7 after very early in the game. He's like, oh, God, Tennessee sleepwalking. Next thing you know, 58-7 was the score in the third quarter. And by God, they did not let that 40-man rest for the rest of the day. Tennessee, 351 points in 7 games, Shane. That's the most in school history. 30 points or more scored in 10 consecutive games. Another school record. Jalen Hyatt, 2 more touchdowns, 7 catches, 174. Hendon Hooker was incredible. One thing I would like to see cleaned up, Shane, 13 penalties for the Vols for 109. Yeah. That was rough. Third downs, I don't know if I've seen third down stats like this before. 15-20. That's incredible. And one other final thing I had, I just wanted to get your thoughts on this, Shane. It was I think it was third quarter. Vols are up 50, and they went for it on a fourth down. They converted it. They got like 40 yards on it, but I was like, my God, he's got some Steve Spurrier in him going for it up 50.
I think there's a gentleman's agreement at a certain point, and Tennessee was really trying to run the clock. They really were. They were trying, and the coach is loading up the box. And as an offensive, as Heupel's looking at this, he's like, I don't want to just go 3 and out in 20 seconds and punt it.
Right.
I've got to keep him a little bit honest. And I think he was just testing him, but every time he did it, it was a 40-yard reception. So, no, this was a great game if you like points. But I think this was a rest game too, because a lot of people are looking at the stats at the secondary Tennessee. There was a lot of defensive players out in this thing, getting some rest, and rightfully so. I mean, we got Kentucky coming up. Where you at, boys? I'm ready for my bourbon. It's coming up. And then you got Georgia right around the corner. So this was an opportunity to get some rest. And I was happy to see Hooker getting out in the second quarter and unscathed here. So all around good game. So I felt that, watching the game. I was like, well, damn, Heupel, what are you doing there? But then the more I think about it, I was like, well, they do have 8-9 in the box. What do you expect?
Yeah, it's always bad, Shane, when your walk-ons are getting interceptions. That's, the competition's not quite that good. But, hey, speaking of next week's games, real quick, Shane, last thing we always like to hit on, the opening lines are out for Week 9, and we got nothing but SEC showdowns. This is going to be one heck of a week, brother. Yeah. How about this one? Missouri at South Carolina. What do you think the opening line is for that one?
At South Carolina, give me South Carolina 9.
5. How about that?
Ooh, that's going to be a Battle of Columbias. I love it. No trophy, but they should have one.
How about this one, Shane? Ole Miss at Texas A&M.
Damn. Ole Miss -3.
Oh, you nailed it. That's exactly what it is.
Okay, come on there.
Arkansas at Auburn.
Arkansas at Auburn. Arkansas -8.
5.
Okay.
I was a little surprised by that. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Watch that one move around.
How about Florida, Georgia in Jacksonville, of course?
Georgia -17.
21.
Okay. All right. They hate Florida. All right. More than Kelly's daughter, huh? Just kidding.
All right. Last, but this is probably the game of the week here, Shane. Kentucky at Tennessee.
Oh, well, Tennessee -40. Just kidding, boys. Just kidding. Give me Tennessee minus. I still think it's going to be high though. -15.
11.
Oh, okay. All right.
I've been seeing a lot of disrespects. That's nothing but disrespect from all Twitter.
Did Hooker get hurt? No. Huh? They know Fant's not our real quarterback, right?
I'm telling you, I think it's going to be a ball game, Shane. I can't wait for it.
I know. Can't overlook this one, buddy. Cannot overlook one of my favorite games. I told Ollie I won't start talking shit till today. So consider it done. Bourbon bet on. DMs are open. Come on, who wants it? So I'm ready, brother. I hope they bring the beer barrel back. I will notice that this with this staff, they put the letters up. They've been doing the jerseys. They've been, they're open-minded, which I like. So hopefully they can bring this beer barrel back because it's a fantastic trophy, and it's just fun sharing it back and forth with Lexington there. So it's going to be a hell of a matchup, hell of a game.
Well, buddy, you got anything else before we hop off the line?
Yeah, I got one last thing, Mike. I want to wish you a happy birthday. Come on now. Yeah, that's right. Mike turns 48 years old today, and he doesn't. I'm just kidding. Looking good, brother. So I just wanted to wish you a happy birthday, and no, I'm ready for some awesome football, and appreciate everything you've done for the show. I keep saying that, but I am extremely grateful, and I'm looking forward to where we go next.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, I appreciate that, buddy, and I appreciate each and every one of you for continuing to hang out with us all season long, and especially you big Tennessee homer, on this incredible streak. It's been a wild ride, and hopefully many more weeks of it to come.
Absolutely.
But that's going to do it for this episode of the show. We'll catch you on the next one.
All right. See you guys. Go Vols. Oh, I just thought I got to do my walk now. It's getting so damn late, but I better get out there.